Yeah, so first I would say just a few words about the problem itself, the problem of cross-fictional identity. So it's like a common fact that objects and events from the real world and the objects and events from different fictions can appear in statements like with each other. Just in those two statements, like Sherlock Holmes lives on Baker Street in London. This Baker Street is an actual place from London, while Sherlock Holmes is like a fictional character from Conan Doyle's novels. And the other example from Hesse is like he is like Faust, thinks that two souls for only one chest is too much, and they should tear the chest apart. Here we can see that Faust, like Goethe's Faust, appears in this statement like as Thomason speaks of them as an immigrant character from the other fiction. And the problem then is to explain how this cross-fictional identity is possible. So yeah, so I'm going to be talking about one particular solution that is presented uh, by Fontaine in 2020 in the paper Cross-Fictional Quantification: The Artifactual Theory of Fiction. And he bases his approach on the Artifactualist Theory of Fiction by Thomason in 1999, like the book Fiction and Metaphysics. So Thomason says that fictional characters are abstract artifacts, relevantly similar to entities as ordinary as theories, laws, governments, and literary works, and tethered to the everyday world around us by dependencies on books, readers, and authors. So they're just like any other objects, but they have certain features that like separate them from them. I think the most significant characteristic is that they are pronounced to exist by authors and also supported in their existence by the existence of the physical copies of the word. That's Thomason's thesis, and also after, I mean, by the existence of the author, and after his death by the physical copies of the works and the certain mental states of people who have read this book. Perhaps they can remember Sherlock, they can know something about Sherlock and all this. And this is how the existence of the artifacts is supported. Yeah. But there is a problem in the ATF, in the artifactual theory of fiction, that actually artifacts cannot only be, I mean, it's not only that the identity is problematic. Also, the problem, the characters from fictions can merge and split. For example, as Fontaine presents it, in Animal Farm, Orwell may have had the intention to use the name Napoleon to refer to historical and to historical Stalin and Napoleon, but with but it's quite problematic how we actually explain how this cross-fictional identity is possible. For example, if we think of it as the repretence, as perhaps in Walton's theory, we would have to draw an unwanted conclusion that Napoleon is Stalin by transitivity of the identity relation. And we have to, at the same time, keep this intuition that historical Napoleon, historical Stalin, and fictional Napoleon, like the name of the peak, are actually different entities, different artifacts. And at the same time, explain how different interpretations of certain fictional works can be actually held. So his solution is quite formal and is based on mostly Hintik's works, which I would talk about in some, like in a few minutes. So first is language. I think it's quite clear what all these things are about, but the one interesting thing is this box and diamond analogs. So the first one, this fictional box, is it is it's interpreted by Fountain is according to the fiction. So according to the fiction, it's то-то. Doesn't so. And diamond is something which is compatible to fiction. So according to fiction is what is according to the fiction is determined by the author, and what is compatible to fiction is determined both by the content of the appropriate fiction and also by the cognitive engagement of the interpreter. So this solution it can explain how different interpretations of certain fictional works are possible. So he presents his these are his semantics, which are based on oral line semantics of Hintika. So yeah, I think with V is the set of all of the possible worlds, and with every world has certain domain DOM. Yeah. I is the accessibility relation. What is interesting about those is that they have these alpha, beta, gamma indices, which indicate that this accessibility relation is according to fiction alpha, perhaps a study in red, as with stories of Holmes, or according to Faust. Yeah, and the interesting thing is this notion of world line. So this is not a J. This is like a cool I. Yeah. So it's the set of the world lines, and the members of the set are I's, which are non-empty, partially defined function on V, which which is from to V. It assigns certain elements of domains to certain worlds. Yeah, something like this. Yeah, perhaps I would explain it after. And int is like the function to define how predicates work. Yeah. So the notion of the world line, it's again, it's from Hintika, and the idea behind it is that possible values of the bound variable, like individuals, are not the objects of the domains, but and individuals thus do not live in certain worlds, but a world line is a set of the manifestation of some object in many other worlds. So Sherlock Holmes is not a particular Sherlock Holmes. I mean, Sherlock Holmes is not the Sherlock Holmes how it appears in like the study in Scarlet. Sherlock Holmes is a set that contains all the appearances of Sherlock Holmes that can like that appear in many different fictional literary works. Yeah, and we have no like symbol for them or in our model language, and this is how Fontaine solves this. I mean, how he approaches the quantification problem too. That is very important to all the realist theories of fiction. So yeah, and the other interesting thing about the semantics is how Fontaine defines the assignment function. So simply how it works, it assigns to variables the values of these world line functions in a certain world. So just like in this example. Yeah, and this is how truth is defined. I think there's nothing too fancy about how it is actually done. Yeah, and yeah, now I will explain how this actually solves this problem that I stated in the beginning. So suppose three world lines I, J, and K, which are contained in this G, and they represent historical Napoleon, historical side, and fictional Napoleon. So simply, we can see that according to the fiction, when we substitute X with the value of K, historical Napoleon is actually equal to, I mean, is identical in the actual world to this X. While others, it is not according to the fiction that historical Stalin and historical Napoleon are actually identical to it. And K is this fictional Napoleon. I mean, the Napoleon that's the P. But also, it is compatible with the fiction. The interpretation is there can be an interpretation according to which these X that appear, I mean, this object that appears in the animal form is actually equal to the identical to historical Napoleon or historical Stalin. So yeah, this is basically the solution, and I think it's quite straightforward. But what is interesting about this is how Fontaine then to what view this solution makes Fontaine subscribe. So yeah, he calls this view weak impermeability of the domains. The view that basically the domains of fiction are weakly impermeable. It's the view that real and immigrant characters can appear in some, but not all, the worlds which are compatible to the fiction, which is dependent to the on the interpretive, struggles of the interpreter. So for any I, it can manifest in certain worlds which are accessible from the world 0, but it does not necessarily appear in all those worlds which are accessible. Yeah, so this is the solution. This is the view. And how we can, yeah. And so I've just described the solution and the view that the solution makes Fontaine subscribe. So the conception of fiction that he has, like in the conclusion, is thus that fictions are not the particular manifestations of certain fiction in different worlds, but somehow they somehow become the rules that like tell us where the particular fiction can be manifest and where they cannot. And also, perhaps contrary to Thomas, not contrary, but not quite to the Thomas, to Thomas, is that after the author not only create the abstract artifact, which is a fiction, but also he with this like performative act of creation of fiction, he regulates the rules which are according to which this fictional box is applied. And in this action, he also restricts the domain of a possible interpretation. So the author not only does the author create the fiction, but also he restricts the domain of possible interpretation. So yeah, and what I found interesting about this view that I think Fontaine subscribes to is that it's actually quite, I think, similar to what Friedrich Schlegel said about the conditions of fiction. And to end the presentation, I want to read to you his quote. But a writer who can and does talk himself out, who keeps nothing back for himself and likes to tell everyone everything he knows, is very much to be pitied. What appears to be unlimited free will and consequently seems and should seem to be rational or super-rational, nonetheless must still at the bottom be simply necessary and rational. Otherwise, the whim becomes willful, becomes intolerable, and self-restriction turns into self-destruction. So yeah, thank you for your time. And I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the quote and like the description of what I wanted to say. So yeah, this is my source list. Yeah, thank you. I would be happy to answer the questions.
Thank you, Vitalii. Are there any questions in audience?
Thank you, Vitaly. As far as I know, Amy Thomasson approach to artifacts is connected with the notion of concept. Yeah, it's very important for her to conceptualize the artifact.
Mhm.
And is it reasonable? What do you think? Is it reasonable to consider Hintikas functions of individualization as concepts, as artifact, and so as concept in Amy Thomasson style?
I'm not very familiar with Thomas's conception per se. Perhaps you could clarify what I mean, why concepts are important.
There is a big discussion about artifacts essence. What is the essence of artifacts? And one of the approaches is the intention of producer.
Yeah,
One
yeah,
and the Amy Thomasson approach is connected with we have an artifact if we have a concept.
Yeah. I mean, with this I'm familiar. Just the confusion. I think it's actually like the one impossible interpretation of like Hintikas calls world lines if you apply them to the fictions. I mean, this seems to be what to me what actually Fantin does, because not only does he state that fictions are historically dependent, but also he says that I mean this way that they are like in their own existence, they are also dependent on certain mental states and the like this когнитивные усилия. So I mean, it is, yeah. I think it is appropriate to regard this world lines as concept because basically what they do in the semantics is that they simply regulate how we apply the box. So I think with this, I guess, normative reading of the concept, the world lines are precisely what the concepts are. Yeah.
Yes, it seems to me it may be a good connection between quantified model logic and the theory of artifacts. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?